It's not that we don't care about you, but you don't care either. If you have a $10 copay, that's all you care about. So the incentives are taken out of the system. The only way healthcare could ever be fixed is by having patients pay. People say, I don't want to pay, I like my $10 copay. But the advantage to the consumer would be, is if you had a $2,000 deductible and you came in and you paid every time, is that then we could free up the prices. We could get rid of prices for Medicare, for anything under $2,000. If we had a $2,000 deductible, and the prices would fluctuate. I think my prices would go down with competition. There are two things that I do in my practice that you have to pay cash for most of the time. Contact lenses are usually not covered by insurance, and neither is LASIK surgery. And the price has gone down for both of them over 15 or 20 years. Contacts are to the point where you can get a contact from me for $4, and about the same from Walmart. Incredibly cheap. Not because I necessarily want to, I've got to compete like everybody else. LASIK surgery, it's a lot more expensive, but the price has still come down every year for 15 years because people pay for it. We made a mistake with healthcare that we got the government in between the doctor and the patient, and we also got insurance companies between the doctor and the patient. But it's not to say things are perfect. I don't like I have a $5,000 deductible, but my insurance is going up at 17% a year. I still pay every time I go to the doctor, and it annoys me that my insurance is going up so much. So even I am unhappy about expense. So I think people are unhappy about expense. People are unhappy that if they get sick, their insurance doubles or triples the next year. So we as Republicans can't stick our head in the sand and just say, oh, there's no problems, let's just keep what we have. People are unhappy about expense. But how do you fix it? I think one way you fix it is we need to change the tax structure and the laws to encourage health insurance to be more like term life insurance. If I have a heart attack today but survive, my term life insurance won't go up because I have a 20-year contract. It's based on my age, it goes up a little bit each year, but it's not based on my health. But if I have a heart attack and survive, next year my health insurance could triple because they're just sort of basing the risk on me. It's not even really insurance at all if it's only my risk. Insurance is when you get to be part of a big pool and you have rare events. But because we have insurance that pays for all of our visits, it's not a rare event. You're going to go to the doctor next year probably. But what we need to perceive as consumers is if you had higher deductibles, you'd have lower premiums. If you had multi-year contracts and portability, you would buy your insurance, but it might be $800 a year instead of $800 a month. You would have your own insurance. If you lost your job, you'd still be able to have your insurance. And it would be over a many-year period. Some people talk about whole life insurance where it's like your whole life. You buy it when you're 20, when you're not sick, and you agree to a rate. As long as you keep paying the rate, you've got your insurance. And it goes up gradually with time over your life, the same way term life insurance is. I think before we scrap our system, we also have to say we have the greatest health care in the world. People come from all over the world to Boston, to Mayo Clinic, to New York. You know, I haven't heard of anybody flying down to Cuba to have their cancer treated. You know, in fact, I think Michael Moore should be sent down there. I think he should get citizenship and all his health care down there. But I don't see people flocking to Cuba for their health care. But we do need to acknowledge their problems, and we need to present a solution for them that is a vision instead of just nitpicking at the side about how bad Obama's plan is, because people want to know what is your vision, what is your solution for things. With regard to how you win a race, you have to raise money. We've raised over $1 million in the last quarter. It's leveled the playing field. Everywhere we go now, instead of being the stepchild, instead of being the one they just want to kick around and doesn't have a chance, it's a level playing field. I can sense it at every speech I give now that the playing field is level, if not coming our way. So we have a real chance to win. The other way you win, and the way you can win in the fall is, I tell people there are two ways you can win an election. One way is you run as a limited government conservative, or whatever name you want to give to that in the primary. Then you get to the fall and say, oh, I'll just run to the center now. I can be a moderate now, and I can say, oh, what do you need? What do you need in Georgetown? I can bring you a project. Do you need a federal project? I can do that. There are Republicans that run that way. We have Republicans who run in the state of Kentucky and say, I can get you more federal projects than the Democrats do. But if that's what we're about and that's why we run, why bother? Why even have a Republican Party if we're not going to be different than the Democrats? But I say there's another way we can win. We don't give up our message, but what we do is we stay true to our message, but we make our message and present our message in a way that brings people to our parties. For example, I think big government is a disaster because the debt leads to inflation. Who does inflation hurt the worst? Those who are the working class and those who are on fixed income. So I said we present that message. Many of the working class and many of those on fixed income have gravitated to the Democrat Party. But I think we can get them back by saying big government's not your friend. Small government and low taxes are how someone like Bill Gates, who is the son of a school teacher, could become a multi-billionaire. It's open to all of us. I mean, it takes more than just intelligence, a little luck too. I mean, we're not all going to be billionaires, but we have the greatest and most mobile society that civilization has ever had. You look at the Europeans, they're still somewhat attached to sort of a landed gentry and an aristocracy in a way. They're not as mobile. They have very high taxes. We have a society where you can move through society and move through the socioeconomic ladder. There is the ability to do that. But we need to present to people and not be embarrassed of capitalism. We need to say capitalism is the most humanitarian system known to man. It provides the greatest amount of good to the greatest amount of people. The Soviets used to try to make fun of us and show how horrible poverty was, and they show a video of a tenement building in New York City, but it backfired on them because the building looked kind of crummy, but the Soviets that were watching it would look in the window and they saw everybody had a color television set. So the poorest of our society had color TVs. So I think we don't run away from capitalism. We don't run away from self-interest. We don't say profit is bad. We say profit and self-interest is that invisible hand that drives the efficient distribution of goods. I mean, without profit and capitalism, you wouldn't be able to go to Walmart and get a $14 phone. I mean, you can get a phone, a cell phone, for $14. You pay a lot more in your monthly service, but you can get a $14 phone because of capitalism. So, I mean, capitalism does work, and I think we need to defend it. I think we need to elect somebody. We need to elect somebody that will reform. I think there are reform issues that resonate. I think Republican, Democrat, Independent, people are annoyed at 1,000-page bills that are printed at midnight and passed by noon the next day. My dad said when the banking bill came up, there were banking lobbyists calling him saying, "What are you going to do about Section 42B?" And he said, "Well, I haven't seen the bill yet." And they said, "Well, we've got a copy of it." The lobbyists have the bill before the congressman. The lobbyists often write the bills. They're written by high-ranking clerks in high-ranking members' office, and the run-of-the-mill congressman has never seen the bill to the last minute, and there's no way they could physically read the bill. But I think that's an issue that crosses party lines and will bring people to us. This is truly the year of the outsider. I accept that label. You know, the Tea Party movement's about it. The Tea Party movement, every rally that I've ever been to in a Tea Party movement is bigger than a GOP rally so far. There are 4,000 people in Louisville, 1,500 people in Lexington, 700 people in Bowling Green. I haven't seen any GOP events that big. But what's resonating is they want reform. People who go to the Tea Party, it's not just they don't want to have lower taxes, they're worried like me about the debt. In fact, I think if you interview people at a Tea Party, you find most of them are most concerned about how big government's grown and how big the debt has grown. So I think there are reform issues out there. We had a good exchange, and we know we're doing a good job in the campaign because our opponent is starting to attack us. And when the guy they perceive to be the leader is attacking the other guy, that means the other guy's catching up. So this week, my opponent was out in the mountains, and he criticized me for not being a Kentuckian. He said, flat out, Rand Paul is not a Kentuckian. And so we fired off a press release, and we said, well, he either needs to apologize, or he needs to send me a refund for all the Kentucky state income tax I've been sending for the last 2 decades to pay for his salary. So we also sent another little note in there, and this is what politics is going to have some give and take, and they're going to have to get some thick skin, as will we. But we put out another part of the release, and we said, I've been a Kentuckian longer than he's been a Republican. So if he wants to talk about how long people have been in the party or in the state, bring it on. We're more than willing to remind people that he was a Bill Clinton supporter. All right? But so we've had some fun exchanges. We've raised quite a bit of money. And we're at the point where I really think the playing field is level. And I think we only go up from here. We just did a mailing, like I said, to most of the Republican primary voters. So we're on the rise. We think we have a real chance. We hope you'll get behind us and do everything you can for us up here. And I thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you.